this podcast series, we basically speak about ethics in AI. I have with me today Nischal Kapadia, who's an asset management professional. Nischal, my first question to you is, what is asset management?
Okay. Well, that's something which is my bread and butter, first of all. But let me explain. So, asset management is essentially a setup where we pool people from people who want to invest in different assets, can be equity, debt, in companies directly, and so on and so forth. So, we pool people, money from these people, and then we identify with a lot of research, a lot of understanding of what the business is, and invest that money in these companies. Now, it can be through stock exchanges. It can be directly into those companies. Say, for example, a private equity invests directly in the company, and so on and so forth. So, asset management as a concept essentially is to pool money from investors, and a set of professionals will identify opportunities, invest that money, and try to gain maximum returns on that money invested. That's what it is. To explain a little more, there are different kinds of asset management. One is public asset management, which is, we all know, mutual funds, where most of the investment happens in the stock market, through the stock market rather, say in equity, in debt papers, bonds, etc. And the second segment, which is now called as alternatives, is the space where either lending happens or equity purchase happens directly in the companies, where the stock exchange as such is not involved. So these are the two segments in the asset management industry, one which is through the stock exchanges, and second which is largely in the companies directly. And here there are different investors with different aspirations and likings to invest. That's what the company really addresses. AI is something which frankly is going to play a significant role on multiple roles, or the functions that exist in an asset management firm. Say for example, there is investments where we actually identify opportunities and invest. Then operations, where the back end work happens. Sales, marketing, where you can actually get more understanding about what the customer is looking for, because we actually have to go and sell what they are looking for. So in everything that we do, there is a role that AI can play, and increase productivity and efficiency. Maybe I can give you a couple of examples. Say in investments, right now we would have a team of researchers who are identifying a company, reading their balance sheets, looking at the sector, the market cycle, etc., and then deciding whether to invest or no. Now, think of a scenario where you have a AI tool which would churn all this information, which is available in public domain, some information which is available in the newspapers but not necessarily available on their website or in their balance sheets. If a tool can churn all this information and give a very crystal clear output, or even refined output, it will become very easy for us to make some decisions, and it'll make much faster to make those decisions. Now, currently, while there are some players who are doing it, it's not as mature. Now, there are potential processes that can be automated, or used. AI can be used in making those much faster, because those are mundane processes. They happen every day. Data comes in, data gets processed, and the output is given. Can AI do this? It definitely can. How efficiently is what we have to see.
Where would there be, or is there, I'm not sure, and that's why I want to know, is there any room for human bias to come in all of this?
So investments as a concept is a decision that is being made basis the data points that you get. By definition, you have to take a call. Now, like a stock market, right? Somebody is buying, somebody is selling. Why? Because someone thinks that this company will do well. Someone feels, okay, the do well is already happened. Now I think things will not go as planned. So that's a decision that one is making. And that's where the room of bias comes in, where you look at a situation and take a call whether this works for you or it doesn't work for you.
I'm reminded of, I was reading somewhere a customer who had his car and he wanted to give it for servicing. He gave it to a service station and he got a whole big list of these are the things that will be done. Then he fed that into an AI tool and asked AI, which are the critical elements should I get serviced and which not? And the bill became considerably shorter. So it makes me wonder, because here is hard-earned money.
Yes.
that is going to be used, and any person, investor, it could be somebody like me who
Sure.
uses you as my management of my assets. How is that person going to know what you decide? Is it driven by AI, or do you really have the expertise and the wisdom to come up with what needs to be done with my assets?
Sure. So it's a good question, and there is a combination of things that will help you to decide on that. One, the regulatory environment in the asset management space is extremely active and robust. I'm not saying there cannot be anything that can go wrong, but it's extremely robust. So you have regulations through which we have to operate, and any violation there will get flagged off. We might get penalties, we might have to shut shop, so on and so forth. That's one comfort that the investor, like you would have. Second is my performance track record. I, as a asset manager, have to put out my performance in public domain. Say if it's a mutual fund, on a daily basis, and if it's an alternative setup, maybe on a quarterly or a monthly basis. So you have information to see what I have been doing, how I've been performing, and also it just doesn't come down to the performance or the returns. It comes down to what investments I made, what was my the amount of times I churned my portfolio, how long am I holding a certain asset. All of these things are disclosed in public domain, which gives comfort to the investor.
What kind of governance does India have currently where AI and ethics is concerned in asset management?
Sure. So AI and ethics has, and not only India, globally, is in that sense a new concept. So generally, a regulation would come once the use cases start throwing up some results, positive or negative. Currently, AI is not that actively or used in small bits and pieces, so we don't have too much of regulation or hardly any regulation currently.
But that worries me.
Yes, yes, but that should worry you for sure. But we are not yet at the stage where I have started using AI to the extent where it would start causing a real worry to the investor. In any case, if I was using it, I have to disclose it to you that I'm using it in this
But
fashion.
should we not look at prevention, which is better than cured? Are we waiting
should.
for an explosion of something that goes wrong and then say, oh, we need ethics standards and ethic governance in place?
No, we definitely should start taking baby steps. I'm sure there are things in the pipeline. We have heard about our government and even global regulators speaking about it, having some broad thought process. Currently, because not much people have understood the power of AI, they haven't been able to control it as such. But I'm sure it will come sooner than later. And I'm with you that it should exist, because it's not only the investor who is at risk. Even as an asset manager, my brand, my name, my reputation is at risk if I go wrong. So it should definitely be there. And I think we are in that journey, maybe a little early. That's what it is. So globally, while we have not touched AI as such, there is something called as quant or high frequency trading, okay, which is again automated trading, okay, where the transactions happen in microseconds or even lesser. So there's a framework around that. I would put my neck out and say India has the best framework to regulate that. And that's why I'm fairly confident that when the AI regulations come out, India would be again amongst the best in the world to control it in the right sense and not restricting the asset managers to deliver the right performance. So I'm fairly confident that our regulators understand what's happening, potentially what can go wrong, and and then the framework would be introduced where we know what to do and what not to do.
That's a very comforting thought to me, though I'm still not convinced, because it's hard-earned money of an investor that is being managed. But what if something was to go wrong? Because this is all in the end, the AI is also designed. The algorithm is designed by human, right? And the human bias is bound to come. And so, where
True.
do you think, or how do you think things can go wrong if the ethics is if somebody is not ethically right?
I think the word you mentioned summarizes a lot of things. Ethics. So let's put it this way: even if AI was not to exist, even today I could harm you and your assets if I was not responsible. Yeah. If I was not ethical, I could still harm you even today, because you are still investing with me, right? AI is another tool for me to make those decisions. AI is another efficient tool to make those critical decisions without a certain bias, and that's why I rather, if I'm ethical, I would refine my decision making rather than play around with your money. Now, can things go wrong? They can. It's at the end of the day, it's a machine that's going to, take a decision instead of me. But that's also possible with human mistakes, right? Now, when it comes to ethics, when I'm designing a certain model on which I will take the decision, that's where my ethics come in, where I am not discriminating between my client money and my money. That's my ethics. I'm not compromising on the relevant regulations just because somebody doesn't understand what's happening. It doesn't mean I compromise on regulations or what I'm supposed to process. I miss out a few steps because currently nobody understands it. Now these are the ethics that I bring on table. If and when I'm caught, which will happen eventually, my reputation is going for a toss, and I'm sure not just you, but most of my investors will run away. And so I believe as an asset manager, the ethical burden is on me more than the customer.
But I'm picking up something interesting you said. The whole thing of ethics comes back to our own personal values.
Yes,
And I would like to think a lot of these values get inculcated through the culture.
absolutely.
And I think the Indian culture, if you go back to the ages of the Vedas and everything, you will see a lot of emphasis on the values and righteousness that got built in. So I think as long as you're in touch with your roots and you have been groomed well in your childhood to look at ethics and authenticity, for me
Yes.
both are intertwined.
Yes.
You are even only if you're authentic are you ethically right.
True.
If you say the right things or the truth is out there, and but it still scares me if something could go wrong. So for a moment I just want you to imagine the worst scenario that could happen. What could that be?
Sure. So and let's be very clear about this, that we are talking about a machine which is learning by itself. Okay. Now a coder codes something, and this is a very real scenario, and whenever you speak to somebody who's building AI, this is their worry as well. And when you code something, when you build that entire network of information that's going to learn by itself, there might be some linkages which the developer himself may not understand. That is one, and which is natural in the AI world. Second is, if I'm not ethical, I may bring in such elements which I know can swing in my favor, while it may not show it to the world, but it will still swing in my favor. The decision making may swing in my favor, or I may choose to pick up some companies which may not be as good, but because I'm the one who's driving the prices, I can play around with that. So these are potential things that can happen. I would not bet my hat and say nobody will do this. There would be people who would do this, but as I said, if I am playing for the long term, if I am culturally balanced, if I am ethically aligned, then there is all the chances or all the intention behind this that I would not allow any such things, at least in my known sense, to get into my system. If something goes inadvertently, I know that can happen. We all understand that can happen. But if consciously I'm not doing it, I think I am at least on the side of the ethics.
No, there's a comforting thought at least you're giving. My last question to you before we wind this up is, FEAI is a community of think tankers. We have academicians, corporate people, entrepreneurs, businessmen who are very passionate about this whole piece of ethics in AI. Anything that you would want FEAI to do to sort of take this forward? Or what is your thought on FEAI per se?
I think if a think tank can proactively work on what we were discussing right now, what can go wrong, especially in the financial industry, because at the end of the day, what is the financial industry? What is BFSI? BFSI as an industry is working with public money. A bank goes down, public money is lost. Asset manager underperforms or goes bust, public money is lost. So where all of us are still learning the game, if FIA can come forward and give us a set of framework or insights to the regulators and work with the asset managers to find right solutions, I'm sure the industry will welcome this, because I'm sure industry also is struggling with the same. The regulators are struggling with the same. If FIA can support this ecosystem, it will go a long way, and we'll be much sooner in the race than maybe the rest of the world maybe.
So I'm picking up the word ecosystem, which FEAI is
Yes.
all about. So I think we are on the right track, on the right direction. Thank you so much for joining me, Nischal. And I think I'll go go away with the comforting thought that my money will be in safe hand, AI or no AI, but the ethics will lie with the person managing my assets.
Thank you
Thank
for
you very
having
much.
me. And let me also mention this, that you mentioned about the culture that we come from.
Yeah.
And frankly, I see that is what will define what AI does to this world. And I think India is here to offer only the good things.
And on good note, thank you so much.